my friends. If this is your first time here, then welcome. This spread for this particular reading has been developed over years to really find a combination that really works. And also, just to let you know, this is not that your ex is coming back and just like I'm throwing this on you. No, this is for the people who actually are still having a connection, or maybe they're anticipating kind of like that something still is ongoing. They still want something to happen with their ex, such as like maybe hoping for a reunion. If you're not wanting your ex, then please, this is not a reading for you. Check my monthlies instead. So in a moment, I'm going to explain the cards, but at the same time, I'm going to provide a timestamp for those people who already know it. If you're the first time here, please go to the explanation. But before I start this, yay, there's like something that you waited for entire year, my 2019 annual Tauroscopes. It's time to pre-order. So you can go www.cattarot.ca/annual, and that's going to get you to the form. The moment when I make the first one, this price of $19.99 for individual sign or $39.99 for all signs is going to move to $29.99 for one and $59.99 for all. So this is like your opportunity to really grab a good deal. If you remember the last year, then they were like about hour and a half to 2 hours long. It was covering all kind of like segments and career and love and family and so on and so forth. In the description of this video, you are going to be able to see the 2018. So just like scroll down below and check it. Okay, so the next is to kind of like jump into this explanation, and for my regulars, here is a timestamp, and just jump right straight to the reading. Okay guys, as you're going to see, I don't know if you can see the difference in colors. Look at how old is this deck, about 25 years old. And the same cards exist in this deck as well. So I am choosing these 7 cards because they're going to be able to give me that combination, that magic key, and the answer that you really want. So let's start. Like, first card that I have taken over here is the Magician. And the Magician is really going to tell me about what is going on for your relationship. If this is really a go, if your relationship can actually fly. It's also going to tell me if your relationship was ever a starter. So both positive and negative is going to give us some answers. The next one is going to be the Temperance reversed. And usually the Temperance upright talks about stars are aligning and everything is like kind of like working together. When it is reversed, it tells me what is really not gluing and what kind of like things you still really need to pay attention and even work on in a relationship. So it's kind of like a really important combination of the two. Then we are going to have the Queen of Wands and also Knight of Wands. With these two cards, they are going to be significators for you and your mate, right? So they are interchangeable. You have to kind of like decide which one are you, and you're going to know it as when I start reading which one applies. This is the energy in between the two of you, and it's going to tell me if there is any communication and what's going on. Is there any manipulation? Is there any approach? And so on and so forth. Kind of like really important as well. Then we have Karma card. Many people disregard, karma, who cares? Well, let me ask you this. If you're now looking back in the past and you think about your relationships, isn't this like, a point that you think, I should have skipped this one? You see, this is really what is telling you about it. Maybe you really go, I want it. But karma is telling you, maybe, sweetie, you shouldn't be going in that direction. So that category is very important, because if you're not in sync with karma, everything will be breaking and things will not be coming your way, right? And then lastly, we have Four of Wands, and Four of Wands is kind of like going to tell me where is like this whole relationship going on and what can you do. So let's start with the reading itself. Hello Taurus, and welcome to your end of October. November is your ex coming back, so let's look into that. you're having like 10 of Pentacles reversed and the Moon reversed. This is really telling me that the situation is somehow at wit's ends, and it really needs to, maybe you're looking for greater clarity. Maybe there are issues on the domestic front, maybe there are issues in family, maybe you have problems with a father, mother, daughter, you know, and something like that is clearly showing here, and something that is really not clear to you, kind of like trying to put kind of you know, some sense, trying to make some sense out of it, but it's still kind of like foggy. It's kind of like getting better, and maybe there were disagreements on a domestic front of some kind. This also tells me that it should be greater understanding, some kind of like sometimes we say the words, and depending on how people feel, right, in their day, they can interpret that words like really badly, or even gestures that we generally think they're nice. I think once I was like talking to a coworker, and I just like put it on his knee as I was talking. He was like very upset. I said, just, it's okay. And he exploded, oh, don't touch me, oh, that's harassment. So you see, it's kind of like something, maybe gesture that would be good for somebody else, sometimes gets really misinterpreted. So I really think here it's really needing for this situation to be clarified better. So now we have the Four of Wands again, Six of Pentacles, and we have Ten of Cups. So this is kind of like reinforcing for me that certain kind of like things are just coming to kind of like the dead end street, right? It's something that if it continues, it's just going to spin in circles and it's not going to get resolved. The idea is to really get out of that whole whatever, maybe self-imposed kind of like a cycle. And it looks like both parties are feeling a little bit slighted. Both parties are feeling that the other one is wrong, and how can they do that to me? And it's kind of like one of those situations. I don't see an impasse, but I do see that this card here talks about balance, and it talks about giving and talks about receiving. And is there a balance there, or were you giving everything? And you see, the moment when that scale is like not basically in equilibrium, one person gives extra, another one is just grabbing all of it. So it's not like, well, I'm going to, and we do this kind of like thing to interrupt my own train of thought all the time, because we kind of like want what we want, and we think if we do more of something that we are going to likely get it, but that's not the case. That's not the case. It kind of like works better with kind of like stopping doing bad things rather than doing more of things. So especially women, they tend to be more giving. Wow, you're getting Karma card, Judgment in the Judgment segment, and Seven of Cups. Guys, this is hardly karmic situation. In this karmic situation, it looks like you're trying to figure out what to do, and this is it. You know, we never know when you're in a situation like really how that small situation is going to have sort of like the consequences and how it's going to revolve. The Judgment card here is talking about that you're cleaning your karma, everything you're doing, and it's kind of like really easy to go about what karma is. It's kind of like doing good or doing bad. It's a very simple, I mean, simple kind of like advice how to be a good person. You just like need to do good things, right? But you don't need to be foolish over here, because this is telling you like you need to kind of like keep things in balance. If something is that you cannot do, then just like don't do that, right? But you also need to appreciate other people's input here as well. It looks like maybe there is a situation where certain things kind of like came to a point where you had no option. That was it, like something had to be done a certain way, and by doing that, by accepting it, like you're sort of like clearing your space, you're clearing your karma. So that's a kind of like positive development. So let's see, we continue. Now I'm wondering if you had a guest, call it quote unquote, in your relationship, somebody who would interfere I still don't have like, I mean, 100% indication that this is the case, but there are like, I mean, lots of things that, you know, turning back on something and moving in a new direction is really, really important. Maybe somebody was juggling too much. This simply could be even you guys, that you're kind of like going through so much, and this can be just like simply life, right? Up and down, kind of like going in the circles, but look, there is the life going behind, and sometimes we lose sight of it, right? It tells me about some kind of like instability that needs to be addressed and kind of like pushed your goals forward, right, as a result. Ay, ay, ay. Oh, it's another 10, 10, 10, 10. I don't like this at all. And I really think that some of you who are listening to this reading are just going to go, oh, wow, I've seen it on Cat Tarot, and I'm going to think about things differently. Because look at all these swords, and you are like earth sign, so no swords there. So this is again telling me that you are kind of like going to come to some senses. Some of you, especially those of you who maybe had this whole idea that maybe you, because this card can actually talk about jealousy, and combined they can really indicate, strongly indicate that there was another person who was messing up. And I also feel that maybe you have been blaming on the third party instead of like your partner, where it's clearly showing your partner is the one who is, let's call it mischievous, who kind of like really didn't care about who he hurts, neither you nor the other party, and you felt really taken by that behavior. It's kind of like almost like something that you couldn't foresee. You could have sworn that this kind of like didn't happen, and that's what I'm saying right now. Like, it's just like, oh well, wait a minute, let me put this and this and this together, and it's like pow, right? Oh my god, that's what it was. So the Knight of Swords is like talking about really straightforward communication. Did you ever meet an air sign? Well, hello, pick me. We are like very blunt, right? And you know that I'm not one of those readers who's going to just like tell you sweet things, just, you know, to keep you coming back, you know, because I really feel this is highly damaging. To give people hope, yes, but you don't have to give people hope through false hope. And sometimes it's very healing knowing that you need to put a dot to it. It's the end of that, right? This is clearly telling me, again, as I said, wrapping certain loose ends and moving forward. You're going to come to realization of something of some kind, and that's going to be hugely eye-opening to you, and maybe you will be the one turning your back over here. Well, it's another karma card, and also in the karma is the reversed. And then we have swords. Look at that. Air, and fire. So you may have dealt with, I mean, it's also strong indication of the certain signs, but guys, just because I mentioned certain signs, it doesn't mean that I'm reading just like signs, and I actually really don't like to do that, because in the description you can check your natal chart. It means that we have like lots of different signs within us, right? So, you know, just because you have eyes, you also have ears, and you have arms, so all of them have different function. But I still strongly see basically Pisces, I see Scorpio, I see Aquarius, Taurus, Leo. There's like a really strong indication about somebody who is maybe extremely stubborn, maybe somebody who just like wants to do their way. Here we also have a hidden infinity sign, as you can see it, and something that is supposed to turn around, and that's what karma is telling you. Certain things are supposed to go in a completely fresh new direction, but it's kind of like really hard, and it almost like you're going to wonder, well, you know, at least I was clueless and happy, but you were also clueless and hopeful. So let's say the person came back to your life. Remember that, like, I mean, saying, beware what you wish for, you might get it. Yeah, you know, and then you will go for the next spin again. This is telling you, do you really want to go for the next spin? Yes, hope is like everything will work out okay, but you know, let's be mature. We are not little kind of like girls and little boys that we kind of like believe in this knight in the shining armor. And this is clearly not a knight in the shining armor. Knight of Swords is like, look at this, even the nature is bending down. Like, I mean, when he kind of like goes around, it's like nothing really romantic about this person, but this person is like focused and kind of like zooms to where basically he wants to go. So let's see, where is this going? You might get a little bit exhausted. You might go, oh my gosh, what an exhaustive month, because swords are really exhausting energy for you. It's kind of like, you know, doing like the programming work. You know, like sometimes physical workers say, oh, you know, I'm working so hard, it's like I'm in physical labor. And you see basically a programmer coming back from work and they didn't lift pretty much, you know, a spoon. That's probably the hardest thing they lift, and they're like totally exhausted. Mental exhaustion is actually much greater, because physical exhaustion can actually be revived with basically massages or just like simply rest, but mental exhaustion is really, you need to have proper diet. It's the whole system is basically losing its electricity. So you're like going to go out on a limb. It's going to be huge amount of energy that you'll be expanding, and it's going to go up, and then you, of course, then you have to relax. You need to kind of like stop and smell the roses. You kind of like are going to do due diligence and analysis of everything that was going on. Wow, look at this. It is just like simply confirming what I said. They are not the person, because remember, tens are the end of one phase. The worst is over. That's kind of like, it's behind you. So that's a great news, right? It's not great what's happening, but it's not going to be as bad. It's going to get better. Just like, you know, in the winter, it's like so pitch dark at 4 p.m. that like you're thinking, oh my gosh, like I just like feel like I'm in, there is like no daylight, and all the daylight we spent at work, right? And then the days get longer and longer and longer and longer. With this person, it's the opposite. Things kind of like, if you're wondering, oh, we just get back together, things will get better. Now look at this, the Chariot here reversing. So now we have also 2 sevens. So it is telling me 3 sevens, sorry, 777. That's almost like perfect divine kind of like coding that you have. It's almost like telling you guys, your destiny is, look at this as well, like it's really telling you, you can change things, but only if you change things you're going to get better results. By keeping the status quo, by keeping in this kind of like condition that you were, things are not going to progress, right? Like look at this, 4 and 5 and 7 and 10 and 9. Lots of kind of like that mental energy will kind of like go out. So be prepared for, you know, fight at the OK Corral kind of a thing, right? It might be exchange. Somebody's going to say, no. This card to me also talks about gaslighting. You're saying something and you're saying, why did you do to me? And it's, no, I didn't do that, blah blah blah. It's complete disconnect. I just like sometimes even wonder how we people even understand each other, right? Oh yeah, there was a third party, guys. There was a third party, and you really feel being on the receiving end of kind of like bad things happening, because like look at this, this person just like, you know, it's not only you, and I don't know, like maybe it's also an air sign that you're dealing with, somebody who can be very abrupt, but if you're abrupt with them, they become a total sissy. They can't or don't want to go in something kind of like in the future, because they actually want to kind of like play the field, and I really don't think they're mature enough to go forward. And I think you need to understand this. You also need to understand that you're looking at things in too much of a black and white matter, and you kind of like need to kind of like figure out that this combination of things over here with this guy, like when you put a key in that basically lock, if it opens it up, it's not going to create happily ever after. It's going to create, well, at least at this time, miserable ever after. So be very careful about it. King of Swords reverse is talking about, again, like very harsh energy, somebody who is like highly manipulating with words. Like this person is, look at this, he had a 10 of Cups, and here was like a 10 of Pentacles, and now it's 1 of Pentacles. Something really wants to shift, and I think they still have a hold on you, and that's why things are really not shifting yet. But you have like this power, like you're one of these signs in this karma card, right? You can kind of like do it. And guys, again, this is a general reading. Maybe I forgot to mention in the beginning, you should check your ascendant, you should check your moon sign at the very least. I also look for my Venus sign, and if I'm looking for somebody else, then I'm checking their Mars sign, because that really shows their attitude, right? Toward a relationship. If you have an Aries, and the Aries is with Mars in Virgo, they're going to be very different for what they're looking in a relationship from basically Aries thing. So guys, the best basically thing around here is this might not be you at all. It might be a message for you, it might be a message for somebody else. To get your message, please contact me. This is on a special for $50, and so you can get your own Is Your Ex Coming Back. Thanks guys, I'm looking forward to your orders. All the best. I love you.